say, how are you doing today? How are you doing today? I am your host. Y'all already know Lacey G. Soldier Turner. And today, man, I got another very special guest with me coming back for the second time. He is one of the busiest performers in and out of Hollywood, has over 170 movies and television shows from Netflix, CBS, NBC. He's been on shows such as Stranger Things, Bag the P.I., Jurassic Park, 24. Yeah, David, he been on it up to this book. I'm telling you, he needs to be in the Hall of Fame for being on the movies and the TV shows. But man, without further ado, man, the man who been doing this thing in Hollywood, we got the wonderful, amazing, talented James Dumont. Welcome back to the platform.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
What's going on? St. Louis,
Yeah, man. I'm a Chicago guy, so it's like we're right there.
There we go. We next to each other.
Exactly.
So last time we spoke, I know you did Candy Cane Lane. So how was that reception? How did you feel?
Man, it was that residual check was pretty nice. There was a Christmas present that just kept on giving. That was great. We had a great time. I had a feeling it was going to be the feel good kind of Christmas movie, and I think we won that spot. I think we definitely won that spot, and it was just great, man. It was great. And then there was the premiere of it, and so I got to go to Los Angeles, and so that was fun. And so it was a good time, And again, it's also just about solidifying my relationship with Reggie Hudlin, from first movie that we did together, Safety, for Disney Plus, which is a really great story, and then to kind of do it again, we'll work together a third time. He's also tied because he directed The Great White Hype with Peter Berg and Sam Jackson. And so there's this Reggie 6 Degrees of Peter Berg through Reggie. So every time I see Reggie or do something, I get a picture and I send it to Pete. So, there is that kind of just staying in the realm, And I said to him this last time because it was like when we shot, it took them like 2 hours to set up the shot because they had this like conveyor belt and this and even there's also the CGI thing and they got to do all. And I knocked all my work out in 20 minutes. He's like, "That's why we're going to work. That's why we'll continue to work together. Like you make me look good and make my job easier." So, so there's always that thing of like you want to continue having repeat business. I think that's the same thing that I always say to actors too. It's like if you're auditioning for the same casting director, more than once a year or once a quarter or every quarter or something, like the fact that they just keep coming back and calling you, that's the key thing. You're really, people always get tied up about like outcomes and results, and it's like you're winning. You're booking that relationship. Think of it like a first date. It's like, you get to go on a second, third, and fourth, and hopefully get married. It's like you get the job, you get married. But dating's not bad. It's like dating many people, going on lots of dates is a good thing. Getting many job opportunities. I think the thing is, I always remind people it's like going on job interviews. Like, can you still keep a sense of yourself? Doing 50 or 100 of those and getting one or 3 or 5. All that work, all that effort. I think it's a sense of resiliency over the years, but it's kind of like, what are your options? There's a time though that half the work I got was offers and the other half were all self-tapes. And only recently I got an offer, and I hadn't had an offer really since Spencer Confidential. So that was like 5 full years of and so I just got offered to do a movie with Mel Gibson. So I finished that back around the fall, and it was just nice to kind of have a conversation with the director and go, "Hey man, I saw your work, and this particular role, there could be." There's 3 different actors that could just do that one thing, but you're the one actor that could do all 3 of these things. So that's really where, you want to try to train yourself. The same thing with music and hip hop. It's like, you do want to be able to build an audience and have a brand that's recognizable and that stands out. But you also want to be able to you don't want to be expendable, like, oh, that guy just did that one thing.
Exactly.
Kind of branch yourself out. Like Beyonce is a perfect example of like, just kind of like, the country song, like it just blew up like crazy.
It's crazy.
So it's one of these things where I try to build up a really diverse range So that I think it's been a challenge because I feel that there's some people that have had more career success by being one thing. You know what I mean? I consider them like a character actor. Like, like Sly Stallone is a character actor because it's always Sly Stallone in this situation. There's no big range in there. I mean, I'll give it up to Arnold because a Kindergarten Cop kind of like, and I'll give it to The Rock too, of The Rock being able to kind of like not be a character actor either and just stick to one character. So, real actors do everything.
Facts.
I feel like sometimes people kind of put that character moniker in there because you're not as good looking or you're not the leading person. But the reality is you represent, other people that exist, So I think for me, I try to have as much of a diverse range as possible, which can be a little difficult because people can't, I can't really kind of package him as this one thing. And I'm like, yeah, but you can package me in many different things.
Exactly.
That's what makes it's like roulette. It's like, don't just bet on one number. It's like, I'm going to go like all odds or odds and evens. Like you have more chances and more possibilities based on that. So there's that. Okay. And then this movie I'm doing now that came out, I did it 3 years ago. It's called Unit 234. And we did that in Grand Cayman Island exactly a little over 3 years ago this last week. And it's a great thriller, man. It's on pay-per-view now, on demand. You can get it on Apple. It'll stream later on as well. But right now it's on all the pay sites and stuff. So I recommend people see it. It's a great script by Derek Steiner, really tightly directed by Andy Tennant, who was mostly known for Sweet Home Alabama, but he also directed Hitch. But this is a great thriller. It's got Jack Houston in it, who's from Boardwalk Empire and more recently Mayfair Witches, and then Isabel Furman, for those who follow the Orphan franchise. She was an Orphan, and done other great things as well. But it's a good, tight little 90-minute thriller with lots of surprises. And so there was a small theatrical release for a week. In 5 different cities, and now it's on pay-per-view and it'll go to streaming later on. But I recommend people hitting pay-per-view just because it's that good. It's a good, get some popcorn. You want a good thriller. There are 5 major plot twists that are not in the trailer, and I forgot. And I was like, man, this trailer. I watched the movie. I was like, this movie's better than the trailer, which is like most of the time. The trailer's got all the good stuff, no, we have more than that. So the trailer gives a nice little taunt and tease, but there's just so much more to it. So, and I play this character of Leon, who is really like Don Johnson's right-hand man, his bodyguard, his henchman, his enforcer, his confidant. I jumped in front of a bullet for him. It's one of those kind of cool. And then getting back to where I was pre-COVID, which is being a major supporting actor opposite names, Deepwater Horizons opposite Mark, same thing with Spencer Confidential, Trumbo opposite Bryan Cranston, being a supporting lead to major actors, and I think that's where I'm going to be for a while. And I'm okay with that, it's just between Don Johnson and Mel Gibson. I'm like, what other 90s, 80s and 90s film and TV stars can I be working opposite? I'm kind of going through my list. And my publicist handles like Armand Asante. I was like, oh yeah, I should put Armand in this movie, opposite Armand, So, it's just a matter of finding the right, it's a difficult time right now. We're coming off of we had the strikes, and then it was then there's just the constriction of the business and moving things overseas. And so it's been a real, there's a scare and fear about AI kind of replacing actors. So I kind of can't play too much into that just because every technology that we've kind of incorporated, there's some sort of fear at first, and then we adapt to it. And then we're like, oh, actually this makes things, easier.
Exactly. Facts. Yes. So look, you said you'd be getting a residual checks too. Loan me $5, James.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, do the pay-per-view. The streaming doesn't help us, with my pension and health for my kids.
So let me ask you this. I know last time we talked, you was in the Righteous Gemstones with your son. How has that been?
Man, it's bittersweet to come to an end. We started 6 years ago. We got 4 seasons in between, COVID and multiple strikes and stuff. I ended up doing 20 episodes. My son did 25, and yeah, we just had an incredible experience. I think he's taken it a little bit better than I was. I just, you just don't want it to end, and same thing with the cast too. I think we all were like, but I also felt Danny really knows what he's doing, and for us to really kind of come in on top. I'll throw a prediction out here. I think we're going to get some Emmy nominations at least. I don't know how that politically will fall out, but I know at least we're going to get some sort of acknowledgement. I think this go round, which is it's like it's overdue. Like I know Barry was the hot thing, and then Schitt's Creek was hot, and then then they were calling Baby Reindeer a comedy, and they were calling The Bear a comedy, and they're like, anybody who's ever worked in a restaurant, man, that's just like it's like PTSD, man. And there's nothing funny about that show. Right. So I think we have our version, Danny, for those who have, I hope people have watched The Righteous Gemstones, but that our first episode of season 4, it's got Bradley Cooper in it. We got Oscar winner Bradley Cooper in an iconic role in our thing, and it takes place in the Civil War. So it's like we kind of had this. I think Danny was just pretty brilliant. Of like, oh, okay, you want to see a half-hour comedy? It's like, oh, let me show you my half-hour comedy. It's like, so it was nice and dark and fun, and I was at that screening with the Emmy, folks. I think they really dug it, so it was great.
Okay, one series that I love that I watched that you co-star opposite Josh Rivera. He was the detective who prosecuted and arrested Pro Football Hall of Famer Aaron Hernandez. What was that experience like? How did you enjoy that?
Man, that was a really great one. It's my 3rd time working for Ryan Murphy. So there's a pattern here. Like if you do a good job, they keep coming back. So I did 2 seasons of American Horror Story. I did Coven first because I was Sarah Paulson's obstetrician. She couldn't have a baby, so she had to go to the Coven to have a baby. And then right after that, I did Freak Show with Sarah as well, and Jessica Lange and Kathy Bates and my buddy Michael Chiklis from The Shield. And I went to college together. In fact, I'm in Boston on a gig right now, so I'm back in I went by my dorm recently. Yeah, so working on that show, having known the story, I have a lot of friends who actually know the detective Rigi who broke the case. So it was really fun to kind of pick his brain. I didn't get to talk to the real guy. I always feel weird about like if they're alive. I usually play people that are not living. Yeah. And so I didn't get a chance to kind of talk to him about it before. I had a way to do that. I thought about it, but I think sometimes I wanted my own kind of interpretation of what it was. So I guess I could have reached out to him and do it via Zoom, but that, was so weird. I did that audition and I dropped like an hour before the strike, like
that's crazy.
11 p.m. like for a midnight cutoff. It was like, I got it in just in time. And then I didn't hear anything for 6 months. 6 months. That's like crazy. Right around, I did that in July, and right around between Christmas and New Year's, they were calling to check my availability. And it was like, I was like, what? I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. It was good. My son read opposite me because, man, that was a good one. I was like, yeah, dude, I know so it held up over that 6-month period of time of various people looking at it and moving it up and being choices, but they didn't. And then even then it was like, I don't think I shot it till like February. So it was like, 8 months from the time I did the audition to the time I did the job. It was like, that's a long cycle, but I love that story. And the performances were just, I think he should have got some Emmy love because that was
definitely,
he was so incredibly strong. Really. And the supporting cast, the one who played his mother was amazing.
Yeah. Oh man.
It was just like, there was just, and even his aunt, like I had scenes with her and Lindy Mendez, like she was doing a show, 8 shows a week with, Harry Potter. You know what I mean? Harry Potter. And like, and being pregnant and getting up at 4 a.m. I mean, like just like incredible. So that cast was pretty ridiculous. And I had a great experience. You know, like I have a lot of friends from New England that knew that story. It's really quite sad. A lot of it has to do with the head injuries he had.
Yeah.
You know, that he had those when he was younger. So it was kind of like, again, you know, another example of people kind of go through a lot of, you know, head traumas, and they're just not been, you know, they find some way to kind of mess with you in a different way, you know?
Yeah, facts. So let me ask you more about Unit 234, you know, new Thriller. So what was it like working with the cast on there?
It was great. You know, like Isabel, we instantly got along. A lot of it had to do with the fact that she was a Righteous Gemstone fan. So she had watched multiple episodes multiple times. So, you know, I'm a fan of people who are a fan of me and vice versa. So it was like, that was easy. I remember watching Boardwalk Empire.
I love that
and Jack's character, you know, like half face and having to wear the mask and then taking it off. And I was just like, who is this actor, man? He's just killing it, man.
Facts.
And so it was really great for me to meet him. And then he ended up doing Mayfair Witches in New Orleans, where I was living, am living back and forth between New York and New Orleans. And yeah, he was great, man. I just loved hanging with him and working with him. Also, we're in Grand Cayman Island. We're in the British Virgin Islands. So ain't nobody crying for us. You know, like it's hot during the day, but we shot mostly at night. So have the day free to go get a scuba certificate and, you know, go swim with stingrays and, you know, tortoises. Yeah. So it was like, if you're going to make a movie in an environment, that's the one. And then in the middle of it, I got COVID. Like just before all my big scenes with Don too. And I was like, man. So I was locked down for 24/7. They put a seal on my door and then they resealed it when they brought the food. I had 24 I'm in a 5-star hotel looking over the beach, getting paid and having 24-hour room service. And I literally was like sick for like a day. And then on the 5th day, I started to lose my mind a little bit because I was getting like stir crazy. Well, because I got there and the script supervisor, who's from New Orleans, is a friend of a friend. And then the first AD is somebody I've worked on a lot of projects with. I gave them a hug my first day and then they got COVID. They were down for 2 weeks.
That's crazy.
And I was like, day 5, I was like, oh man, am I ever going to get out of here? Like, I just started to freak out. I was in solitary, man. I was like, I'm like, this is, it's beautiful,
crazy.
But I'm like, I cannot leave this room. It's a government thing, you know? So it was a little bit, that day 5 was a little tough.
Yeah. I can imagine.
I kind of had to work my way through that a little bit, you know?
Okay, I can imagine. Look,
I'm getting all triggered out again, just thinking about it. Like,
about it.
I was like, I can't go out that door.
Like, look,
it was a little like
it make you never want to go. Look, it make you never want to go to jail.
Oh yeah, man. No, there is, you know, that natal rape. Those are the two. Like that's it. You know, you're like, you want to not be able to ever leave a room.
That's how
days for years on end.
That need to be the name of your new film, The Room.
Exactly.
So let me ask you this.
You made a good deal off of that title too, The Room.
Yeah, see? Yeah. So let me ask you this. You know, we see, I love thrillers a lot. So we've seen a lot of them. So what would you say separates this thriller from others?
How tight it is, how taut it is, and the really good twists and turns. Like I remember reading the script and going, that's good. And then somehow the script got better, or the way in which that they shot and edited. I think it was always there, but like it was just so tightly wound that it really it worked on a lot of levels. So for me, even somebody who knew the story, I had forgotten some of the twists and turns, and then there were kind of better payoffs than I imagined. And what I loved is, and this is experience that people have too, especially why I, specifically went out to Los Angeles for the opening, because I wanted to see in the movie theater. Some movies I think are worth. I mean, this is a perfect one at home. There's no two ways about that. But I wanted to have the audience. I want to have the experience of the movie with everybody in the audience, because there was other scenes I didn't knew about or forgot about, and it's been such a while. It was 3 years ago, so I was like, at some point I'm gonna, But I was like, I'm gonna go, and I'm really glad I did, because in the, they were like, they were like out loud groans and catching their breath, and yeah, man, it was really that was pretty fun. That's the thing. It's like the things that get me interested in a project are, if it can make me laugh, like cry, laugh, like just like even something good on Instagram. I was like, if you can get me to I can barely speak, I'm laughing so hard. Yeah. I like, that's gold. And the same thing is, if you can keep me on the edge of my seat and not have me think like I think I'm ahead of you and I think I am, and then I'm totally wrong. That's the joy, I think. And that's what I liked about this thriller in particular, is I felt that just when the audience thinks they got it all figured out, or they peg Don Johnson's character for certain things, is a big old surprise. And there's one scene in this movie. This is a thing a friend of mine was telling me when I'm starting to produce again. And the way in which to get major stars to be in your movie is you have to have, it should be a character that they're not necessarily known for. And you're likely, you're going to expand their range a bit, or the audience really likes people to be stuck, like they wanted Matthew McConaughey to just be a romantic comedy dude.
Yes.
But he had bigger goals, dreams, and aspirations, and we're all grateful for it.
Yes.
But usually the other thing is, so give a name actor a project that people don't necessarily think or know them for that type of role, even though distributors and sales agents and reps want them to keep. If you're an action dude, just keep doing action. Don't try to do a romantic. Don't pull a Will Ferrell and try to do a drama. I was like, we're not interested. So there's that other thing of the audience kind of tells you what we're going to take or not. Yeah. Like Steve Carell, it's like, you have expanded away, you've done it, but not everybody's able to do that. And so, so the first thing is to get them to kind of do a project. And the second thing is, there should be at least one scene in this movie that is the reason to do the film. And there's one scene in this movie, and it's something I've never seen Don Johnson do in any project, film or television. So incredibly, deeply emotional and vulnerable and innocent, and just I've never seen him this way before. And for me, if you're a Don Johnson fan, you're gonna this is, even if you're not, but I feel like that's a scene where if you like Don Johnson's work, watch what he does in this thing. And I also feel like that scene is probably the reason he did the movie. For the reasons I tell you, is I don't think anybody can think you can do this. I mean, and there's just a great payoff for it, And it's seemingly one thing, and then it becomes something else. And then you get real surprised, and you go, oh, you know what? That Don, he's a pretty good, he's a pretty good actor,
I can't wait to see it.
In that scene, And so I feel there's certain things, like you were saying, what are the things that kind of get people in? It's like seeing actors you like doing things that surprise you. And I think that's a good thing.
I can't wait to see it. Let the people know where can they view this if they want to watch it again.
Yeah, it's on pay-per-view right now. It's on Amazon, and it's also on Apple. Yes. You can order it on Apple. It's a download, and pay-per-view if you have, through whatever your subscriber base is. But it's Unit 234, and like I said, it's a tight 90-minute thriller, and super fun.
All right, Mr. James, let the people know where can they find you at if they want to get in contact with you.
Yeah, so two ways to find me are Instagram is my favorite go-to. It's at James Dumont, Dumont. And then I also, for actors who are looking to want to train in on-camera work, I do what's called an on-camera workout. And so that one can be followed on Instagram as well. On-camera workouts, plural. Is my site, and that has lots of free content on there tips and tools about self-taping. I've been self-taping for 15 years and booked conservatively, if you add up all the residuals and everything, well over $1 million worth of work from that self-tapes. Like Gemstones was one self-tape that led to 4 seasons and 20 episodes. So, what's the power of a self-tape? A lot. Same thing with my son, helped him pay for college. So, it's like I focus on those because the economics and the environmental impact of people having to all gather in one office at one time to make casting decisions, it doesn't make economic or environmental sense anymore. I think people can do it virtually via Zoom, or there is that thing of chemistry in the room and getting direction from that person. So I do a live workout that I teach people at. So I'll be teaching in New York coming up. I'll be doing 3 classes in New York in June. And then I do a lot of stuff. I do classes online. I have about 2,500 students all over the world. So my day classes have a lot of Europeans that are in there. And then my night classes are people kind of from all over. And then I do classes Saturday day and then Thursday nights live in New York. So, and those are ways to kind of find me. It's really, if people really want to learn the fundamentals of how to do a self-tape from script analysis all the way to mastering self-tapes. That's the thing. And for actors everywhere, I call it the great equalizer, because it used to be if you were at certain particular agencies or managers, you were given one of those 30 or 40 live slots. But if you weren't being seen, you were invisible. So now that they're looking and seeing 200 to 300 people, in a given time, in the same time they would have seen 30 or 40. So that gives more people, more diversity, more, inclusion. You're able to run the gamut of all, like I was just coaching somebody today and the character is described as like, redheaded, prosecutor. And my client is big, tall, African-American. Like you guys, so I think if there were these limited amount of time slots available, it might have been a little bit more narrow than that. But because of self-tapes, it's kind of allowed them to really live up to diversity and inclusion, which I think in our business is everything. I think everybody's entitled to work. And so, one person's gain is not another person's loss. That's just that's just how it works in our business. There's enough for everyone. And so I like how it's also allowed people like myself who I used to live in Los Angeles, then I moved to New Orleans, and then my ability to be 3 hours from New York, 3 hours from LA, 1 hour from Atlanta. I can work multiple markets without having to live in New York or LA. So it kind of, it makes it one of my clients is actually in St. Louis, Missouri, by the way.
Okay. So,
a big content creator himself named Evan Ira, who's like huge on YouTube, a magician, storyteller. He and I are working on a pilot together, a TV pilot for Danny McBride that we're developing. So so there's just the ability for you to be able to work everywhere without having to physically reside in New York or LA, which are 2 of the largest and most expensive markets. And even Atlanta, it's like that's the 3rd market. So the ability to be able to kind of shoot here for something there, it's good. It's a good thing.
Okay. Hey, listen, man, y'all heard from Mr. James Dumont. Listen, sign up for his class, especially if you're trying to get into this industry, if you're trying to be an actor, actress, and everything. He's been in a lot of stuff, and he can teach you some things. Like you said, it's paying and paid for college.
Yeah, exactly. We have a website called oncameraworkouts.com. That's my website for my classes. But and for me, I'm in the service phase of my life, being of service. I've had an incredible career, and I'm going to keep at it. But I have so much information, knowledge, and experience to give back. So that's what I like to focus on.
All right, Mr. James Dumont, it's always a pleasure. St. Louis and Chicago. With St. Louis be Chicago.
Midwest representing.
That's right. Listen, the Cardinals got to be over the Cubs. No.
What? I'm sorry. Who's hitting home runs and triples? Who's? I think he has a couple of names, couple last names. He's so badass. He's got 3 names.
You know,
Yeah, just watch that boy. He's firing up right now.
I digress.
It's all good. It's all good, dude.
But now, James Dumont, it is always a pleasure. Definitely
again,
keep
bro.
you posted when I put out this article and everything.
Please
Keep
do.
doing the thing.
Yeah, and I'll send it out. Good deal.
All right, salute. Have a good day.
Thanks again, brother. Talk to you soon.